Welcome to Too Busy to Eat. This is Greg Zuffalato. I'm the host of the show and also the CEO and founder of Too Busy to Eat, the protein bar company. I really encourage you, before I get to my amazing guest, I encourage you to check out our website, toobusytoeat.com. I believe we make the very best tasting and healthiest protein bar on the market. And I want you to go check it out, try the bars out, get a discount. Use the TBTE show discount code and get 20% off of all our products. And I just really encourage you to check it out. And now for our guest. Today, we have a fascinating guest, Serena Wolf. She actually is the author of The Dude Diet and her website, domesticateme.com. It's domesticate-me.com. She's basically, I could simply put it, she's a certified chef. Le Cordon Bleu in Paris is where she did her training. But using her training and then her boyfriend's inexperience with nutrition, she has made a realistic cookbook to help people that don't know much about nutrition, want to still eat all these great foods, but they want to improve their health. So I really encourage you to dive in and listen to Serena. She's fascinating and learn a little bit more about the Dude Diet and eating healthy and still eating good food. So here we go. Well, welcome, Serena. I'm so excited to have you on the Too Busy to Eat show. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're coast to coast. You're East Coast, I'm West Coast. And,
New York City, yeah.
Yes, and I'm Southern California, so we got the whole country covered. Right?
Jealous.
Yeah. It is a little. it's raining today, so we're complaining. There's rain. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
A little rain must fall in California to make the rest of us feel better.
I know. Well, we were. Yeah. That's it's good. So excuse the noise we have outside my office. They're doing road construction, which is not good, but hopefully it's not too loud for everybody. So you have a fascinating story. I loved reading about it. Why don't you let everybody know kind of what got you to where you are today?
So my cooking or food world path has been extremely non-traditional. Nobody in my family cooks. My mother burned things on occasion when I was growing up. And I actually decided to go to culinary school on a whim. I had just graduated from college, was having a mild 22-year-old existential crisis, as one does. And I had minored in French in college and was like, I'm going to move to Paris. I wanted to be a freelance writer. I had all these ridiculous notions at 22, moved over there, was struggling a little bit. And a friend of mine was like, look, during the day, you should take the basic class at Cordon Bleu. You'll never regret having that life skill.
Right.
So I showed up. I thought I had a very romantic image that I would be roasting chickens and drinking wine. Needless to say, that is not what happened. Anybody that has been to culinary school knows that it is very intense.
Yes.
And there were a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears the first few weeks. But, it sounds sort of cliche, but halfway through the course, I really fell in love with it. I started to feel really relaxed in the kitchen. You're on your feet, you're in the kitchen, you could hear a pin drop for 3 hours at a time, 9 hours a day usually. And I was like, I really like this. And weirdly, I was kind of good at it.
Wow.
When you're good at something, you're like,
you like it more. Yeah.
So I signed on to do the full diploma program, which is a little over a year, and sort of never looked back. I started my blog, Domesticate Me, when I was in Paris, sort of as a way to just keep in touch with friends and family, as one does when starting a blog abroad.
Sure. Right.
I never really anticipated anybody else reading it, but I really wanted to share sort of the recipes and the really funny informal dinner parties that my roommate and I were throwing, because I really do feel like I am the epitome of the old cliche. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. I literally couldn't cook anything other than a burnt grilled cheese prior to culinary school.
That is amazing.
I'm like, if I can do it, you can absolutely do it.
So were you in shock that first week or so?
Totally in shock. I mean, it was one of those things where they're like, please debone this chicken. And I was like, I'm going to need a Xanax to get through this. This is too intense for me. But, once you really break things down, I also started to realize how simple and fun things could be. If you can cook one thing, you can cook 10 things. So it's really about the variations and learning what you want to do. And I knew I didn't want to be in a restaurant kitchen.
Right.
And I love storytelling, and I loved teaching and making people feel like cooking and entertaining and being healthy and taking care of yourself really didn't have to be such a drag. I was like, look, you can do it. And I wanted to make it accessible, but more importantly, I wanted to make it fun. I'm like, why can't this be something that people are laughing at? You know, everybody else has Martha Stewart-esque fantasies of how their life's going to be once they start to cook and entertain. And I'm like, look, realistically, I am a trained chef. I've melted my coffee maker to my stove twice in the past 3 years. So I'm like, these things happen.
Yes.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Take baby steps, and that will work for you. So I was doing the blog, private chefing. I cooked for a couple of players on the Giants for a few years, which was super fun. And then I started a column on my blog that was based on my nutritionally confused then boyfriend, now fiance. Thank God that he hasn't left me for outing his nutritional idiocy on the internet. But he was just one of those guys that didn't know anything about nutrition. He ate primarily meat, cheese, and white bread.
Standard American diet for a guy.
And the problem was, he wasn't really overweight. I didn't want him to lose weight. I just was legitimately concerned he wasn't going to live past the age of 35. So I was like, maybe some more vegetables or whole grains or leaner meats. And he had this really grim view of health food and was sort of like, I'm not eating weird, healthy food. And I was like, I don't like weird food either. It can still taste really good. So I started to sort of prove him wrong, so to speak. I started revamping his favorite meals in a healthier way. So everything from cheesesteaks to mac and cheese, chicken fingers, all of these traditional sort of comfort foods, and working in more vegetables, more whole grains, leaner meats. And he loved it. Wow. And I was like, he's the rule, not the exception.
Right. Yes, that's right.
So
if it works for him,
if it works for him, it will work for everyone. So I wrote a one-off post, being like, my boyfriend's on a diet. I made him this thing. And people were like, is this a real thing? Like, should I be on the dude diet?
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
It was great because it was guys who wanted to start figuring out health and nutrition and cooking for themselves, but also tons of women who are like, my husband, boyfriend, dad, son is also nutritionally confused, and this is helping me. Or, girls like me that were like, I really like chicken fingers too. So thanks for this. And so I started writing a column called The Dude Diet, and it was far and away the most popular column on the blog. And that's what spawned the book. And here we are.
And it's pretty exciting what you have going on with the book. I mean, so tell first, before you get into what's going on now, what give us the process of writing the book. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So this is actually, I find the cookbook process fascinating because people don't really understand how it works behind the scenes. It's 2 years from the time that you sign the deal until you see your book on a shelf, which is a long time. And so prior, I had written a proposal, my agent had shopped it around. Once I got the deal, they basically tell you like, so excited to see your book in a year. Go do it. And I think I'm somebody that's always I like working in chunks. I also constant, I think I work really well with constant feedback. So I was like, do you want me to send you chapter by chapter? And my editor was like, oh dear God, please don't do that. So I started working on it, and the book has over 125 recipes. So I basically, everybody works on cookbooks differently. I broke mine down into 2 chunks, which was just recipe testing. And then I left myself, a couple months at the end just to write, the introduction, the introductory chapters, all of the head notes, chapter, chapter intros, all of those things that were more story oriented. I left till the end. And then there was, a month-long photo shoot where you're prepping and food styling and all of those things. And I had a wonderful team of people that I worked with because that's a whole different ball.
Oh gosh.
It's crazy.
I can't imagine.
But recipe testing was cool and interesting because they don't tell you these things when you're a first time author, but apparently most authors have 3 or 4 recipe testers who you send them the written recipe and then they provide feedback.
Right.
I had 65.
Oh my gosh.
Which I would never do again.
Oh my gosh.
But
you're getting so much input.
And you have to figure out where the line is, how much feedback is too much feedback. 2 people test the same recipe. One's like, I loved it, but it could use more kick. Different person writes back, this was so hot, it burned my face off. I couldn't eat it.
Right. I mean, everybody's so different. And so once that was, the manuscript was turned in, then there's sort of a 6 months in post-production where they're designing the book and laying everything out and figuring out the cover and all of that stuff. That's, to me, that's the really fun stuff, because you're seeing something that you've worked on in isolation for so long come to life. And
so
it's coming to reality.
Yeah. And then you get that package in the mail, a month and a half before the book is actually released, where you get a physical book, and then all the, it all seems worth it.
Finally. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
That is awesome. So you're going backwards a little bit. How long your trip, not trip, because it wasn't a trip, you actually lived there. The school was a year, but how long were you in Paris?
I was in Paris for almost 2 years, because I actually did the cuisine diploma, took a year, but I also did a term of pastry, which was not for me. I think most people, I'm not sure if everybody understands there is a very strong difference both in personality types and in skill sets when it comes to pastry and cuisine. I would, spend 3 hours making sugar roses, and then some old French chef was like, "What is this? It looks like a pansy." And I'd, be sitting there thinking, I made a flour out of sugar. If somebody doesn't give me a hug, I'm going to freak out. So I realized I didn't really have the patience for pastry. Also, it's just not as experimental. You can't really, if you mess with the quantities, you don't have a cake. It's that type of precision that I was not a fan of.
Right. Like being more creative. There's more.
Exactly. And if you mess something up when you're cooking, you can sometimes backpedal so much with pastry. So it was almost 2 years that I was over there.
Yeah. That's a wonderful experience. Such
a great experience. Yeah.
It's an amazing, the country, especially Paris. Yeah. So now tell us, update us now. The Dude Diet, it's out there now. Now what's going on with it?
So it was released at the end of October, which was great. It's sort of, it's a book baby. You feel so attached to it, and then it comes out, and you get to, I think the best part is, and this sounds so trite, but when you see other people cooking from it, it all feels so, not just that it was worth it, but when you see people enjoying something you've created, it's just a really, really cool feeling. I can't even be, more, I can't even put that eloquently. It's just cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, no, that's.
And so people have been, posting things on social media, photos of their Dude Diet creations, and, people talking about how they've been using the book to get a little bit healthier. I love hearing about couples that are doing it together, because that was sort of part of the inspiration, because Logan would, if he had his way, when we first started dating, we'd eat cheesesteaks every night, which I was not down with. And if we had it my way, I love a good kale salad. He's not about to do that for dinner. It's really about finding that middle ground. I think especially in relationships, finding meals that satisfy both people. It's such a great thing. And, I originally told my publisher, I was like, look, the typical cookbook buyer is female. So my goal is for a woman to buy this, to leave it sitting on the coffee table. A guy reads it on the toilet, and they meet in the kitchen. That was sort of
that just works perfect. Because
exactly. So now the holidays were sort of great, because people obviously give each other cookbooks, which is so wonderful. And now Super Bowl is basically Dude Diet Christmas. So I've been having a ton of fun.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Working. There's an entire chapter in the book called Game Day Eats, which is solely dedicated to, everything from buffalo chicken fingers to nachos to jalapeno poppers, all just made with real whole foods. Not deep fried.
Right.
Just not sad versions of things. They taste just as good. They just aren't as bad for you, because I realized that, especially for a lot of guys, you set out, a crudité platter at your Super Bowl, like you're going to catch some serious flack for that.
Right.
You want to serve food. Part of the fun for me is like when you put something down and everybody sort of attacks it. And that's because it's visually, I always say it too, I'm like, a little bit of melted cheese goes a long way.
I know. Yeah.
It's all very visual. Super Bowl has been great. And then at the end of the month, I'm going on tour for like 6 weeks.
Wow. Yes.
That will be awesome.
So this will be released in, this will be March. So you're going to be, where will you be like in?
I am hitting, starting at the end of February, I'm hitting like 11 cities, I think, back to back. So I'll be in Denver, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, Minneapolis, Richmond, Charleston, Boston. I'm definitely forgetting places, but I'm so excited because it's like, I think it's strange. I'm sure you understand this from doing a podcast. People feel like they've gotten to know you, and that's the point of writing a blog or a book or podcasting or having a YouTube channel or any of those things. You really want to connect with people, and I think that it's been great, like emailing or chatting with people on social media. But I'm just really excited to like hang out with people in person. And like I said, it's a long, isolating process writing a book. So getting to actually interact with people who are, excited about it or cooking from it or just learning about it for the first time. Some of the events are, cocktail parties or demos, or, somebody might sign up because they're like, oh, I want to learn how to make XYZ. And then they learn about the Dude Diet for the first time. And that's awesome. I'm really, really excited about that.
That is really, that's exciting. I mean, that would be really fun. You'll enjoy that. I know. Yeah.
A lot of sleep deprivation, I'm sure. But
I'm sure the travel. Yes. But it'll be fun. You see the country.
Exactly.
And so if somebody's going to, you have this or stereotypical dude, what can they expect? The book, how's it going to, I know the overview will help them. It's going to be healthier food, tastes good, but what can they expect from the book?
So the first 2 chapters to me are very much outlining the Dude Diet philosophy, which is, it's not rocket science, it's common sense, but it's a lot of things that guys don't, or, just somebody that hasn't been interested in nutrition may not know. So it has everything from portion control, which can be really jarring for people when they realize how much they're supposed to be eating versus how much they're actually eating. And, sometimes I'm like, look, I'm not giving you American Heart Association sizes. I realize if I told you to eat 3 ounces of meat and half a cup of grains at any meal, there'd be piles of burning Dude Diet books. Finding a middle ground, the sooner you sort of start eating a more reasonable portion at every meal, the sooner you sort of get over that portion distortion hump where you become full when you have a normal portion.
That's right.
And it's, exercise, responsible boozing. So obviously you can still drink, but having 3 beers on the couch every night is a habit that you can break and will make such a huge difference so quickly. And I think the processed foods thing really cutting out prepackaged foods is huge. And there's also a chapter on setting up your pantry, which I know is intimidating for a lot of people, and it's in a lot of cookbooks now. But what I tried to do was also break down things by not just category, but what they actually are, and then where you can find them. So there's a whole a whole section that's like, what's that? I don't know if I'm supposed to say it or not, but that's what it says in the book. So if you're easily offended, the Dude Diet may not be for you. But things like chipotles and adobo, like people are always emailing me and be like, I can't find them. And I purposely went to 15 grocery stores in New York to just see. And every single one had them, but every grocery store keeps them in a different place. So I was like, look, this will be painful. Ask somebody in the store where they stock them. It will take 1 extra minute and swallow your pride. It's just things, it's things like that. And I'm like, you don't have to buy all this stuff at once. If you pick up 3 things every time you happen to be in the supermarket, eventually you will have a bunch of stuff in your kitchen, which will make cooking seem far less daunting. When you look at a recipe and you think that you have to go out and buy 15 ingredients down to the salt and pepper, you're never going to do it. You have to start collecting those things to have them on hand. So you'll have sort of the basic tenets of the Dude Diet, which includes a list of commandments, and then the kitchen setup, and then everything, your traditional categories, so sort of breakfast, desserts, main dishes, but there's also a classic section, which classic comfort foods, like I said, a game day section, cocktail section, a grilling section, and then my favorite is the back pocket chapter, which is like back pocket recipes that when you are really short on time or don't have a lot of ingredients, you can make these recipes without stressing yourself out. It's really basic stuff. So it's like how to cook a perfect chicken breast, how to cook a really good, like just plain pesto pasta. And then you can change it up based on what you have on hand. So those are great.
That is, the word that keeps coming to me, realistic is a word.
Realistic.
It's just, you can do it. People can do it. I mean, it's
people
just,
can do it.
Yeah, it's, and reality is it's like people are so overwhelmed with everything else in life, so make something realistic, make something that somebody can actually follow, and really it changes their life. But if you have to go through these extreme changes, it's really only a very few people can do it.
And it's really for people like my fiance, who is so hilarious and really loves food. It's like he would never give up whole food groups. So like he'd never be able to give up red meat, grains, or dairy. I'm like, those things are all fine to eat in moderation, and especially grains. I'm like, if they're whole grains, you're getting a ton of vitamins and minerals and the fiber that you need, which will keep you full. So I don't know. Everybody has different fears about different food groups, and I'm not judging anyone. If something works for you, go for it. But I think, I wrote the Dude Diet so that there was a cookbook for the rest of us that just sort of want to live in the middle and be healthy without giving up everything that we love.
It's fantastic. It's needed. It's fantastic. I mean, I think I really wish you the best of luck on the tour. I think that's going to be exciting.
You.
And the sale, I know the book is just going to continue to grow and grow. And before I want to make sure people know where to go to get the book, they can get it on Amazon.
You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the major booksellers, but Amazon,
And then for sure to contact Serena, get directly or get in touch with all her information would be domesticate-me.com, and that will be in the show notes. And then Serena G. Wolf on all social media. So I'm really excited for you. This is a great project.
So
it's genius. Like I said before the show started. I mean, the Dude Diet. I mean, it just doesn't. That's why it's getting so much publicity, because it's just smart. It's great. Thank you. I wish you the best. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It was great. So you have a great tour, and we'll be following you.
Awesome. Thank you.